Man, Frieren is honestly off the charts. From all the other anime that's ever been suggested to me from other YouTubers, this is definitely the one that's been the most worth it. Also, it's one that I've actually checked out, but we're not gonna talk about that. I came into Frieren with no expectations, even though a lot of people were praising it and saying it was pretty good. And when I tell you I thoroughly enjoyed myself with this one, I genuinely enjoyed myself a lot with this one. With Frieren not having the most unique setting, we're seeing the fantasy anime aesthetic like Dungeons and Dragons, but deciding to delve deep inside concepts that aren't normally explored upon, especially in this anime fantasy aesthetic, and putting a lot more humanity into a place where usually you wouldn't really see that at. Asking a human question to someone who isn't human. When you look back, what is your most fond upon memories? Now, before I get to anything, I'll just first start off with the story and how the story really starts off, right? With a group of travelers by the name of Eisen, Frieren, Heiter, and Heimel. Oh man, I love butchering names. Like and subscribe, it helps. At the end of their journey, after they just defeated the Demon King, and now they're just taking back on their 10-year journey of like almost a slideshow of like the events that happen or the funny bits that do happen, and they do get praised for defeating the Demon King, and now it's a new age of peace. I think you skipped some part. Nope, just the beginning. Oh, okay. They all disband for a while just to go ahead and do their own separate things, but they all come together a long time later just to go ahead to see a meteor shower and have one last adventure. Very soon after, the hero Heimel dies, and seemingly the emotionless Frieren starts to cry, and she starts to say like she wished that she knew him better. As she cries and she thinks back over about all the memories they had in that short, as she says, time span of 10 years. Disclaimer, she thinks that because she's an elf and she lives for like over 1,000+ years and all this other nonsense. But what I'll end off with is that she said that she wants to know people better, and that's all I'll talk about for the story. Now I just want to get into the reasons why this show fucking excels and does so well in so many different things. With me first starting off and talk about the flashbacks, right? Now we all know with any other anime, when it comes to flashbacks, they can realistically be hit or miss, with flashbacks usually being used for a multitude of reasons, too, but not limited to expanding upon a character or giving a context on the situation, or even just re-explaining circumstances that literally just happened moments prior. But what I felt like this anime does exceptionally well is expanding upon the character, and this mostly just correlates to the main cast of characters of Frieren, Stark, as well as Fern. I'll get into everyone else's later, but I just want to stick with Frieren, right? With Frieren, she goes back into the past and she usually thinks about other moments or other things that happen that correlate to what's happening now in the future, and she usually just smiles or like thinks back to it in a more good light than what she thought about it in that specific moment, making it feel like she has a newfound appreciation to what she has and what she has now in the moment, in the here and now, because before she never really had that. She always thought like it was like, oh my goodness, it's only a 10-year adventure, or it's like only like a 10-year or a speck in my whole lifetime. And it felt sort of beautiful seeing her change in that way, from like how she from the past into now, and how Heimel's death really truly affected her to the point of wanting her to change her life and her ways of how she see things. But going back to the flashbacks, I think one of the things, or one of the aspects of flashbacks that really need to be implemented in them for me to be invested is just for them to be entertaining or have some importance to the main story at hand, and to be developed enough for me to be like, damn, maybe I sort of want to stay in this almost flashback as aesthetic at least for a little bit more time, rather than just instantly going back to the main story at hand. But believe it or not, 2 times this year where I genuinely felt like that. This with this show as well as Jujutsu Kaisen, but that'll be there for another video and another day. But with this, it generally makes me feel like I want to stay in that past a little bit, or even just like a season of seeing their events or some of their adventures that they have with each other, even though we do see a good amount of them inside the season itself with Frieren, but just like going a little bit more in depth and seeing like how things change from the here and now, even though that's not the point of the journey or the show. And just by the first episode alone, making it feel like every ending, it truly is a new beginning. The next thing I also have to talk about is the characters, right? I already talked about Frieren, but just to go a little bit more into detail, I feel like a quote definitely reinstates this, right? In the terms of the past tends to repeat itself, and with Frieren, it feels like she's already doing this whole 10-year trip all over again, and it's sort of almost the same beats that happen over again, and just in a different, slightly different or more different way than how it happened before. And it's more or less really interesting how she goes about every single action that happens or every single event that does happen in the here and now, and how she did it before, seeing like the more development that she has, and some of it feels a little bit minor, and then some of it feels big in her perspective. Just like, for example, when she fights the Demon Queen again for the second time, instead of her just like using a whole bunch of big spells and exploding the whole area and sort of destroying all the terrain, she then actually just does it in a completely different way because of what Heimel said to her and explained to her how this isn't a good way of doing things, and how it can really mess up the things around around them, and just seeing slowly but surely her becoming that character or that person that she truly wants to be. Sort of like a slow burn, if you will. Now with Frieren, I think Frieren is like, if I could say any two words, it would definitely be understanding and also judgmental at the same time. And now that seems like it's something that would be like opposites and it would sort of like clash at times, but it's sort of separate at most times, where she would be like completely understanding and very nice to somebody that like sort of deserves it or sort of needs it at that point in time, or she'll be judgmental to a person because she thinks of it in a more negative light. So she'll be like, well, like, what is wrong with you, or perv, or something like that. But really, she just seems like a good girl with good intention. And besides the fight we do get in episode, I think 10 or 9, I think I really do enjoy the beginnings of her and seeing how her and Fern sort of interact and how she sort of acts as a person. And also, by the way, 2 quick side notes before I get to the last character. The first side note I would like to say is I do enjoy seeing the original cast or original band of like heroes that we do see at the beginning before they get to the Demon King, and seeing how they are and then how they sort of interact. Like I said before, me wanting to see them even more. And then also something that's in the way back, like I said before, is the fighting, right? I do really enjoy some of the fight scenes that we do rarely get, because also it's not about the fighting part, but it's also really interesting when we do get it, or really fun when we do see it happen. And then sometimes they do go really off with the animation when it comes to a fight, just like I said in episode 10 or 9. Now lastly, I want to get into Stark, right? Stark he's just him. I love Stark the most out of any of these people so far. He just feels like one of those characters that you really do root for all the time. You're like, bro, I want you to do the best you possibly humanly can. Make me feel like a dad at a little league game, being like, go, yes, there you go, get to the home run, you did it, yay. With Stark, him and his backstory and just him as a person just makes me feel like the most interested out of all of them, if anything, with him just sort of being that afraid aspect, and then him sort of reaching or getting to that goal of like, you know what, let's do this, I got this, we're gonna fucking do this right now. Sort of reminded me of other scary characters, but once they get to that point where they want to pull the trigger, they just feel so right, and it feels like it's built up too great for that moment right there. But with Stark, it feels a whole lot faster, because it feels like every single time that moment happens is in that episode or in that specific moment where like we get it right here, right now. So if anything, I would definitely heavily suggest anyone to watch this and give it a fucking chance. I know it's not over yet. I think it's up to like episode 12 as of this recording, but it's really good so far, and I definitely going to enjoy myself to watching all the way up to episode 28, and I might even do another video once we get to that point. But other than that, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.